Farrah Fawcett's life has always been wrapped in a mix of beauty, fame, mystery, and hidden struggles, making her one of the most talked about American icons of the 1970s and 1980s. Even today, audiences remember her shining smile and bright blonde hair. Yet very few people fully understand the real woman behind the glamorous image. To many fans, Farrah Fawcett symbolized the perfect American woman, confident, stylish, and effortlessly charming. However, beneath the surface existed a story that was far more complicated than anyone imagined. Farrah's journey from a Texas girl to a global superstar was filled with surprising turns, professional challenges, and emotional battles that shaped the course of her career. She became famous around the world because of Charlie's Angels and her unforgettable red swimsuit poster, but fame came with a heavy price. In fact, her life included moments of loneliness, fear, frustration, and constant pressure to prove herself in an industry that often judged women more harshly than men. Throughout her rise, Farrah faced criticism about her acting skills, the decisions she made, and the people she loved. Every move she made was watched closely by the media, and even the smallest mistake could grow into a damaging story that followed her for years. One of the most shocking moments in her career came when she was quietly banned from The Tonight Show after a strange and uncomfortable interview that left the audience confused and producers concerned. This appearance became one of the most discussed moments of her life, and people still debate what exactly went wrong that night. Some blame nerves, others blame exhaustion, while a few insist that the host, Johnny Carson, was colder toward her than usual. But before understanding why Farrah was unofficially banned from the show, it's important to travel back into her past and explore how she reached the peak of Hollywood fame. The truth is that Farrah's story is not simply one of glitter and success, but also one of hard work, heartache, ambition, mistakes, and reinvention. She was not born into fame or privilege. She had no major connections in the early years of her life. Everything she achieved came through determination, personal sacrifice, and the courage to take chances. Even long before the world recognized her, people around her felt that she was meant for something bigger. From her early days in Texas, where classmates admired her beauty and confidence, to the moment Hollywood agents began calling her, Farrah's life moved quickly toward stardom. Yet becoming a star did not mean her struggles faded away. In fact, many of them grew larger. Fame brought opportunities, but also brought misunderstandings, legal battles, rumors, and intense public pressure. Farrah's relationship with Hollywood was complex. It made her world famous, but also pushed her into emotional moments that tested her spirit. And while people loved her roles, her posters, and her public persona, they rarely slowed down to understand who she truly was inside. This article explores her rise, her fall, her rebirth, her relationships, her mistakes, her bravery, and the unforgettable moment that led to her being banned from one of the biggest television shows in America. It is a complete look at one of the most iconic yet misunderstood stars of the 20th century, told in a simple and easy way that captures both her beauty and her struggles. Farrah Fawcett was more than a poster girl, more than an angel, and more than a celebrity who had an awkward night on live television. She was a complicated, emotional, incredibly strong woman fighting to be taken seriously in a world that often refused to see her beyond her looks. Understanding this deeper story makes her legendary career even more fascinating, and her Tonight Show controversy even more shocking as Farrah's fame grew. People want to know more about her personal life, her thoughts, and her experiences. This is why talk shows became an important part of her journey. And among all the shows she appeared on, The Tonight Show was the most influential. In the 1970s and 1980s, being invited to The Tonight Show meant you had truly made it in Hollywood. Millions of people watched it every night, and Johnny Carson, the host, had a reputation for being charming, funny, and a little unpredictable. When Farrah walked onto that stage, she always brought charm and energy. But there was one appearance that changed everything. It was supposed to be a simple interview, but instead it turned into something Hollywood still talks about. Farrah showed up looking distracted, nervous, and very different from the calm and confident star everyone knew. She stumbled over her words, laughed at strange moments, and often paused like she was lost in her own thoughts. The audience laughed, thinking she was trying to be funny, but Johnny Carson looked confused. He tried to help her stay on track by asking gentle questions, but she kept drifting off. Some viewers thought she might be sick, while others accused her of being under the influence. Farrah later claimed she was simply exhausted and stressed, but the damage was done. That night spread across the entertainment world like wildfire. Clips were shown again and again on TV, and newspapers ran headlines suggesting she had fallen apart on live television. For a celebrity in the spotlight, moments like this can quickly become defining, even if they are misunderstood. Hollywood can be unforgiving, especially toward women. Farrah suddenly found herself the target of jokes and cruel comments. Instead of people talking about her work, they talked about that interview. Her team begged the show not to air reruns of the episode, but it was too late. The public had made up their minds. Even Johnny Carson himself reportedly felt unsure about having her back. Some insiders claimed he was embarrassed by the whole situation, while others said NBC executives worried that another unpredictable appearance could damage the show's image. In Hollywood, one awkward moment can overshadow years of hard work. And for Farrah, this one interview became the moment that many people wrongly used to judge her. Soon the rumors reached a point where the show simply stopped inviting her altogether. No official ban was announced publicly, but behind closed doors, producers quietly decided it was safer not to bring her back. It was their way of avoiding risk, even if it meant being unfair to a woman who had given the world so much entertainment. And so, Farrah Fawcett, one of the most famous stars of her generation, found herself shut out from the biggest late-night show in America. What happened next would show just how strong she really was, because instead of letting this moment break her, she used it to start one of the most surprising comebacks in Hollywood history. After the Tonight Show controversy, Farrah found herself in a place many celebrities fear, a place where people talk about you more than they talk to you. Suddenly, every magazine, radio host, and entertainment reporter wanted to give their opinion about what had happened on live television. Some people mocked her. Others tried to analyze her behavior, but very few cared about the truth. For Farrah, this period was one of the hardest in her life. She was already dealing with personal stress, a busy schedule, and constant pressure from Hollywood. The Tonight Show incident added even more weight to her shoulders. But Farrah was not the kind of person to quietly hide in the background. She had always been strong, determined, and willing to face challenges head-on. Instead of letting the negativity define her, she made a brave decision. She would continue working, stay visible, and remind the world why she became a superstar in the first place. Farrah began choosing roles that showed she was more than just a pretty face. She wanted people to see her talent, her heart, and her ability to play complex characters. She surprised everyone by taking on dramatic roles that required deep emotion and strong acting skills. Critics who once doubted her started to pay attention again. They realized the Farrah they saw in that Tonight Show interview was not the real Farrah. The real Farrah was a fighter, someone who pushed through pain and pressure and kept going. This new direction in her career slowly began to change the public's opinion. People love a comeback story, and Farrah's journey was shaping into one of the biggest Hollywood comebacks of the era. During this time, Farrah also learned how to protect her own peace. Fame had taken a toll on her, and she realized she needed to set boundaries. She cut down on unnecessary interviews, avoided events that caused stress, and focused more on her work and personal life. She spent time with close friends and family, the people who truly understood her. Their support helped her rebuild her confidence. Farrah also used her experience to help others in the industry. She knew how harsh the spotlight could be, especially for young women, who were judged more on their appearance than their abilities. She became someone younger actresses could talk to, someone who understood their struggles and offered real advice. Even though Farrah stayed away from certain talk shows, people started inviting her to more serious programs where she could share her side of the story. She began opening up about the pressure she felt, the expectations placed on her, and how the public often misunderstood celebrities. Her honesty touched many fans. They realized she was human, just like them, and that she had good days and bad days. Slowly, the world stopped laughing at that Tonight Show moment and started seeing it as a small bump in a long and successful career. Hollywood insiders later admitted that Farrah was never officially banned in a formal sense, but it was clear that producers were nervous about bringing her back. Still, Farrah never let bitterness take over. She believed that holding on to anger would only drag her down. Instead, She focused on growing, improving her skills, and building a legacy that would last longer than any embarrassing clip on television. Her comeback was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, graceful, and filled with hard work. And as the years passed, people started talking less about what went wrong and more about everything she did right. This chapter in Farrah's story proves something powerful. Even when the world judges you harshly, you can rise again if you stay true to who you are. Farrah Fawcett didn't just survive the backlash. She transformed it into fuel for her success. Her journey shows that strength isn't about never falling, but about getting back up. Even when everyone is watching as Farrah continued rebuilding her career, something interesting began to happen in Hollywood. People who once criticized her started quietly changing their opinions. Cast and directors saw that she was taking every new role seriously, putting in long hours, and showing real dedication to her craft. Directors who had hesitated to work with her now wanted to collaborate. Even journalists, who once wrote negative stories about her Tonight Show appearance, began focusing on her new achievements rather than that single uncomfortable moment. It was a slow process, but it showed something important. Talent and hard work can outshine even the most embarrassing public mistakes. Farrah demonstrated that a person's true character is revealed not in their perfect moments, but in how they handle setbacks. And she handled hers with dignity, patience, and determination. Despite all this progress, that Tonight Show episode still followed Farrah like a shadow. Whenever she booked a new interview, producers often whispered in meetings, asking if she would be okay on camera. Some talk show hosts gently avoided certain topics, unsure of how she might react. Others treated her with extra caution, as if she were fragile or unpredictable. But Farrah was neither of those things. She was simply a woman who had one bad night, something any person could experience. She understood that people's memories were long, especially when it came to televised moments, but she refused to let their assumptions shape her future. Instead, she consistently showed up prepared, composed, and ready to speak honestly. Bit by bit, these new interviews helped change the narrative around her. Farrah also started using her growing platform to talk about bigger issues in the entertainment world. She spoke openly about the pressure placed on female celebrities, how they were expected to look perfect, act perfect, and never make mistakes. She explained that Hollywood often judged women more harshly than men, and that a single awkward moment could damage a woman's image far more severely than it would a man's. Her words resonated with many people, especially young actresses who looked up to her. They saw Farrah not only as a beautiful star, but also as someone brave enough to speak uncomfortable truths. This made her a role model far beyond her acting roles. At the same time, Farrah was learning more about herself. She realized that fame came with both bright lights and dark shadows. The attention could be exciting, but it could also be invasive and exhausting. She found strength by staying grounded, remembering her roots, and surrounding herself with people who genuinely cared about her. With their support, she began to embrace the idea that she didn't have to be perfect to be loved or respected. This new sense of self-acceptance allowed her to approach her work with more confidence and joy. Her personal growth also started reflecting in her performances. Whether she was acting in films, television movies, or stage productions, she brought a level of depth and emotion that surprised many critics. Some even admitted that they had underestimated her in the past. She was no longer just a face on a famous poster or the glamorous star from Charlie's Angels. She had evolved into a respected actress who earned praise through her talent, not just her image. And with each project she completed, the memory of that Tonight Show incident faded a little more. Be why this time. Farrah had reached a point where she didn't need to be invited back to the Tonight Show to prove anything. She had already proven herself through her work, her resilience, and her growth. The show's door might have quietly closed on her, but countless other doors opened along the way. And she walked through each one with grace, courage, and a determination to create the life and career she truly wanted. As the years went on, Farrah's comeback grew stronger, and people began to appreciate her not just as a celebrity, but as a real person with struggles, emotions, and a remarkable ability to rise after falling. Instead of running away from the past, Farrah learned to look at it with honesty. She understood that everyone faces moments they wish they could redo, and her Tonight Show incident was simply one of those moments. But what made her different was the way she refused to let it define her. She realized that if she kept hiding from it, people would always see it as something shameful. So she began to open up about that night in a calmer, more understanding way. She explained the pressure she was under at the time, the expectations she struggled with, and the emotional challenges she faced behind the scenes. Her honesty didn't just clean her reputation. It helped people see her humanity. Fans, who had loved her for her beauty and charm, now admired her for her courage and openness. They respected her even more because she was willing to talk about a painful moment instead of pretending it never happened. This created a deeper connection with audiences. People no longer saw Farrah as a distant Hollywood star. They saw her as someone who had lived through real problems and fought her way through them. Many fans even reached out to say that her story helped them deal with their own failures and embarrassing moments. It reminded them that making a mistake doesn't mean your entire story is ruined. In fact, sometimes a mistake can make your story stronger. Farrah's willingness to talk about her struggles also changed the way Hollywood viewed her. Producers and directors saw her as someone with depth, maturity, and emotional understanding, all qualities that make an actor truly powerful. They began offering her more challenging roles that required strength and vulnerability at the same time. Farrah fully embraced this new phase of her career. She no longer felt the need to fit into the perfect Hollywood image. Instead, she focused on telling meaningful stories and bringing emotional truth to every character she played. Her performances became richer and more profound, and soon she earned praise from critics who once doubted her abilities. During this time, Farrah also became more involved in projects outside of acting. She supported charities, spoke about causes she cared about, and used her platform to inspire others. One thing that made her unique was her genuine kindness. People who worked with her often said she treated everyone with respect, no matter their role. Whether she was talking to a famous producer or a new crew member, she showed the same warmth and appreciation. This earned her admiration throughout the industry. Even people who had never met her felt connected to her because her actions reflected a good heart. But perhaps the most important part of Farrah's story during these years was her rediscovery of self-worth. For so long, Hollywood had measured her value by how she looked, how she acted on camera, and how perfectly she performed in public. But Farrah slowly learned that true worth comes from within. She realized she didn't have to be perfect to be loved. She didn't have to hide her flaws to be respected. And she didn't have to fit anyone else's expectations to succeed. This self-acceptance gave her a confidence that shined through in everything she did. Her smile became more genuine, her interviews felt more relaxed, and her performances carried a new emotional strength. In the end, Farrah's journey showed that sometimes life's most painful moments lead to the most meaningful growth. The Tonight Show incident, once seen as a disaster, became the turning point that helped her evolve into a stronger, wiser, and more authentic version of herself. It taught her and everyone watching that one mistake does not define your entire life. What defines you is how you rise, how you heal, and how you continue moving forward with grace. As Farrah entered a later stage of her career, the entertainment world began to view her in a completely new light. She was no longer just a poster girl whose smile hung on the walls of millions of bedrooms. She was no longer only the glamorous TV star who captured the nation's attention in Charlie's Angels. Instead, she had become a symbol of resilience, strength, and authenticity. People admired her not for being perfect, but for showing that even the brightest stars can fall and rise again. Younger actors often mention her name with respect, saying that her journey taught them to stay strong when the world judged them unfairly. Farrah became a quiet mentor, without even trying, simply by living her truth and standing tall through every storm that came her way. During this time, Farrah also expanded her creative goals. She stepped into projects that allowed her to express herself in deeper ways. She worked on documentaries, appeared in more dramatic roles, and even explored artistic projects outside of traditional acting. Farrah loved expressing herself, and she wanted her work to reflect her growth. These projects allowed her to show the world that she was more than just a Hollywood face. She was a creator, a thinker, and a storyteller. Many critics who once underestimated her talent now admitted they had been wrong. They praised her for her courage to choose roles and projects that challenged her. They also admired her willingness to step away from the typical Hollywood mold and follow her own path. At the same time, Farrah's personal life entered a stage of deeper reflection. She spent more time with the people she loved, valuing genuine connections over industry expectations. Friends later described her as warm, thoughtful, and filled with a surprising amount of humor. Farrah's close circle often talked about how she could light up a room, not because of her beauty, but because of the kindness she showed others. She treated people equally, something rare in an industry built on status and image. This warmth and sincerity made people respect her even more as the years went by. The media, which had once criticized her harshly after the Tonight Show incident, now wrote pieces celebrating her strength. They talked about her growth, her achievements, and her lasting impact on television and film. Many entertainment journalists admitted that the world had judged her too quickly, and that she deserved more understanding and compassion. In some ways, the shift in public opinion reflected a larger change in society. People began to recognize that celebrities were human beings with real struggles, not flawless characters on a screen. Farrah's journey became a reminder that someone's worst moment should never be used to erase all the good they brought into the world. Despite all the praise she received, Farrah never acted like a victim of the Tonight Show controversy. She never blamed Johnny Carson, the producers, or the audience. Instead, she accepted the moment as part of her story. She believed that everything in life, even the difficult parts, teaches you something valuable. Farrah used that painful experience to learn about herself, her limits, and what she truly wanted in life. She often said that strength comes from facing your fears, not avoiding them, and her journey proved that. Even though she never returned to The Tonight Show, Farrah eventually became bigger than any talk show invitation. She built a legacy through her work, her courage, and her authenticity. Her fans continued to admire her, not because she was flawless, but because she was real. In a world where celebrities often hid their problems, Farrah stood out for showing her human side, and that honesty made her unforgettable. Her story reminds us that a single mistake does not break a person. What truly matters is how they stand up again, how they rebuild, and how they continue to shine even after the world tries to dim their light. Farrah Fawcett's life proves that sometimes the most beautiful parts of a person are revealed during their hardest moments. As Farrah's story continued to unfold, many people began to look back on her career with a new sense of appreciation. They realized that she had lived through some of the toughest moments a public figure could face, yet she never allowed those moments to destroy her spirit. Instead, she transformed the challenges into lessons. She learned to trust herself more. She learned to be patient with life. And she learned that the public's opinion could change, but her self-worth must remain steady. Farrah understood better than anyone that the entertainment industry was full of unpredictability. One week you might be praised, and the next week you might be criticized. But she also discovered something even more important. If you stay true to who you are, time eventually reveals the truth. And over time, people began to see her with clearer eyes. Even her most loyal fans admitted that the Tonight Show moment had confused them. They weren't used to seeing Farrah appear nervous or scattered. To them, she had always been confident, glowing, and perfectly composed. But as they learned more about the struggles she faced during that period, many realized they had judged her too quickly. They saw that she was dealing with enormous pressure behind the scenes, pressure that would have overwhelmed almost anyone. With this new understanding, her fans grew even more protective and supportive of her. They admired her for pushing forward, for refusing to be defined by that single night, and for showing that even the biggest stars can have vulnerable moments. For Farrah, the shift in public opinion was reassuring, but it wasn't the center of her world anymore. She no longer needed constant praise or headlines celebrating her success. What mattered most to her now was peace of mind. She cherished the quiet moments, the time spent with loved ones, and the ability to choose projects that truly inspired her. She valued meaningful conversations over glamorous parties, and emotional honesty over forced perfection. This change in priorities helped her live a more fulfilling life, far away from the constant pressure of Hollywood expectations. And because she approached life with this new clarity, she became even more respected. One of the most powerful parts of Farrah's later career was her courage to take control of her own story. Instead of letting reporters and gossip magazines define her image, she began speaking more openly in interviews and documentaries. She shared her thoughts, her fears, and her hopes with a level of honesty that surprised many people. Through these conversations, Fans learned that Farrah was far more thoughtful, intelligent, and emotionally deep than the media often portrayed her. She proved that she wasn't just a beautiful face on a poster. She was a woman with a complex inner world, someone who had learned valuable lessons from both success and failure. This honesty helped Farrah become a symbol of authenticity. In an industry where many people hide their real self behind carefully curated images, she stood out by being brave enough to show her true self. She didn't pretend to be perfect. She didn't pretend that fame was easy. And she didn't pretend that the Tonight Show moment hadn't hurt her. Instead, she embraced the truth that she had been tired, overwhelmed, and human. And strangely, this admission made people love her even more. It reminded them that everyone's off days, everyone makes mistakes, and everyone deserves compassion. The Farrah's story also inspired other celebrities to speak openly about their struggles with stress, public pressure, and emotional health. Many younger actresses admitted that Farrah's courage helped them feel more comfortable being themselves. They no longer felt the need to hide behind fake smiles or pretend they had everything under control. In this quiet and unexpected way, Farrah helped change the culture of Hollywood. She helped create a world where honesty was valued, emotions were respected, and vulnerability was seen as a sign of strength rather than weakness. Looking back, it becomes clear that the Tonight Show incident was not the end of Farrah's story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with growth, reflection, courage, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters in life. And through it all, Farrah showed that a single moment cannot erase a lifetime of hard work, talent, and heart. As Farrah moved further into the later years of her life and career, something remarkable happened. People stopped talking about the Tonight Show incident altogether. What once seemed like a moment that could damage her forever slowly lost its power. Instead, the world began focusing on what truly mattered: her talent, her kindness, her bravery, and the meaningful impact she left behind. Farrah had become more than just a Hollywood celebrity. She had become a symbol of strength and humanity. Even people who were not fans of her work respected her for the way she carried herself through life. She showed that fame was not about being flawless, but about being real, determined, and compassionate. Around this time, Farrah also became more deeply involved in personal projects that reflected her values. She took part in documentaries, interviews, and creative endeavors that allowed her to express her truth in ways she never had before. One of the most powerful examples of this was her willingness to openly share her experiences with illness later in life. Instead of hiding from the world, she let people see her vulnerability, her strength, and her determination to fight. By doing this, she not only inspired millions, but also changed how the world viewed health struggles, especially those faced by public figures. Her bravery in sharing her journey showed that she had grown far beyond the glamorous roles that made her famous. She had become a voice of courage and honesty. People close to Farrah often said that she had a unique ability to bring light into a room. They talked about her gentle nature, her playful humor, and the warmth she showed even to strangers. Many who worked with her remembered her as someone who treated everyone with respect, from big-name producers to the newest assistants on set. This kindness earned her a special place in the hearts of many. Even long after her passing, people continue to share stories about her generosity and compassion. These personal memories painted a picture of a woman who was far more than what the public saw on TV screens or magazine covers. In the years that followed, Farrah's legacy continued to grow in ways she might never have imagined. Her fans kept her memory alive through tributes, documentaries, and celebrations of her work. Younger generations discovered her through old interviews, classic shows, and online clips. And interestingly, many of these new fans viewed the Tonight Show moment not as a scandal, but as a simple example of human vulnerability. They saw it as a moment when a star showed her human side, something that made her even more relatable. Instead of judging her, people now offered empathy and understanding. It showed how much times had changed, and how Farrah's own courage in facing her mistakes helped shift public perception. Farrah's influence also extended to the entertainment industry itself. Many Hollywood figures, especially women, looked to her story as proof that one mistake should never define a person's career. They admired how she refused to let the media shape her identity, how she stood strong through criticism, and how she rebuilt her reputation through honest work and emotional courage. Her story became a reminder that celebrities are human beings with real feelings, real fears, and real challenges. Farrah showed that it is possible to rise above negativity, no matter how loud it might be. Another important part of Farrah's legacy was her ability to remain true to herself. Unlike many stars who try to fit into Hollywood's strict expectations, she chose to follow her heart. She took roles that inspired her, supported causes she believed in, and never tried to hide her humanity behind a perfect image. This authenticity made her unforgettable. People didn't just remember her for her beauty. They remembered her for her heart, her honesty, and her strength. In the end, Farrah Fawcett's life became a powerful example of how one moment cannot define a person's entire story. The Tonight Show incident, once seen as a career setback, eventually became a footnote in a much larger, much richer journey. Farrah showed that true success comes from resilience, from learning, and from having the courage to face life exactly as it is. Her story will always remind the world that even in moments of weakness, there's room for growth, healing, and amazing transformation. Beyond her professional life, Farrah Fawcett's personal experiences added layers of depth to her story and helped shape her into a person who inspired others. Her relationships, though often complicated, taught her important lessons about love, trust, and resilience. The highs and lows of her romantic life, especially her relationship with Ryan O'Neal, were widely discussed in the media, yet Farrah navigated them with remarkable honesty. She openly admitted the challenges she faced, the heartbreak she endured, and the ways she grew from those experiences. By sharing her story, she helped others understand that love is rarely perfect, but it can still teach valuable lessons. Farrah showed that it was possible to love passionately while maintaining strength and dignity, even in the face of public scrutiny. Her family also played a significant role in shaping her life. She experienced both joy and heartbreak through her relationships with her loved ones. The death of her sister Diane and the passing of her mother, Pauline, were devastating moments that deeply affected her emotional well-being. Yet, even in the face of these tragedies, Farrah demonstrated resilience. She allowed herself to grieve, to feel deeply, and to find ways to heal. These experiences, though painful, made her more empathetic and gave her a greater understanding of a human experience. She learned to appreciate the small moments of life, the laughter of a friend, the support of a family member, and the quiet strength found in self-reflection. These lessons were not lost on her fans, who admired her ability to endure and grow despite the hardships. Farrah's role as a mother also brought unique challenges and triumphs. Her son, Redmond James O'Neal, faced struggles with addiction and legal issues, and Farrah's constant concern for his well-being demonstrated her unwavering dedication as a parent. She balanced her career, her health struggles, and the challenges of raising a child with love, patience, and commitment. Her devotion to Redmond reflected a depth of character that went beyond her public image. Even when faced with setbacks, Farrah remained a guiding presence in her son's life, showing that resilience and compassion often go hand in hand. Through these experiences, she modeled the importance of perseverance and unconditional love, proving that personal growth is intertwined with how we care for others. One of the most inspiring aspects of Farrah's life was her courageous battle with cancer. Despite receiving a devastating diagnosis, she refused to give in to despair. Farrah pursued every available treatment option, traveled abroad for experimental therapies, and shared her journey with the public. By documenting her fight, she offered hope to countless individuals who faced similar battles. Her story was a testament to human strength and the will to survive, and it highlighted the importance of advocating for oneself, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Farrah's determination in confronting her illness became a defining feature of her legacy, showing that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Even amid her health challenges, Farrah remained committed to her work and her public presence. She participated in interviews, documentaries, and public events, using her platform to share her experiences and inspire others. Farrah became a role model not just for aspiring actors, but for anyone facing adversity. She taught that setbacks, whether professional, personal, or health-related, do not have to define a life. By embracing her struggles and turning them into opportunities for growth, she set an example of strength, resilience, and authenticity. Farrah's story illustrates that while life can be unpredictable and challenging, it is possible to live with courage, hope, and determination, leaving a lasting impact on the world. Farrah Fawcett's legacy is not only defined by her roles in television and film, but also by the profound way she handled her public image and personal challenges. Throughout her life, She faced immense scrutiny from the media, especially after moments like the Tonight Show incident. Yet, she never allowed criticism to break her spirit. Instead, she used every experience as a stepping stone to grow, to learn, and to inspire others. Farrah's life reminds us that fame comes with challenges, but it also provides opportunities to influence people positively. She showed that even when the world is watching and judging, one can remain true to oneself and continue pursuing meaningful work. Her journey teaches us that resilience, courage, and honesty are far more valuable than perfection or a public approval point. One of the most important lessons from Farrah's story is the power of authenticity. In a world where Hollywood often promotes a polished, artificial image, Farrah embraced her true self. She didn't try to hide her mistakes, her struggles, or her vulnerabilities. Instead, she faced them openly, which made her relatable and human. Fans could see themselves in her story because she wasn't pretending to be flawless. This authenticity became one of her greatest strengths. People admired her not only for her talent or beauty, but also for the honesty and courage she displayed in both her career and personal life. By being herself, Farrah created a lasting connection with her audience that transcended generations. Farrah's influence extended beyond her work on screen. She became a symbol of perseverance for anyone facing challenges, whether in their career, personal life, or health. Her ability to rise above setbacks, confront personal struggles, and maintain a positive attitude inspired many. Farrah demonstrated that setbacks, like public criticism, career disappointments, or health issues, do not have to define a person's life. Instead, they can serve as opportunities to grow stronger and to inspire others by example. Her story encouraged people to keep moving forward despite difficulties, to embrace vulnerability as a form of strength, and to approach life with courage and determination. Another remarkable aspect of Farrah's journey is the way she redefined her career on her own terms. After leaving Charlie's Angels and experiencing public scrutiny, she did not allow the media's judgment to dictate her choices. Instead, she focused on roles and projects that reflected her values and challenged her as an actress. She embraced complex characters, dramatic performances, and meaningful stories that allowed her to grow creatively. This decision demonstrated a rare combination of intelligence and courage. Farrah proved that true artistry comes from a willingness to take risks and explore new directions, even if it means facing uncertainty or criticism. Her career trajectory shows that personal and professional growth often go hand in hand. Farrah's story also teaches an important lesson about the intersection of personal and public life. She lived under constant scrutiny, yet she never let public opinion control her decisions. She made choices that were true to her values, whether in love, work, or health. This integrity earned her lasting respect, even from those who may have criticized her in the past. Farrah's ability to balance public expectations with personal authenticity is a remarkable aspect of her legacy. It shows that while fame may bring attention and judgment, the way we respond to it ultimately defines our character and our lasting impact on the world. In the end, Farrah Fawcett's life is a testament to resilience, authenticity, and courage. She experienced both extraordinary highs and devastating lows, yet she faced every challenge with determination and grace. Her story serves as an enduring example that life's most difficult moments can become the greatest opportunities for growth. Farrah's journey reminds us that mistakes do not define us, criticism does not destroy us, and setbacks do not determine our worth. Instead, it is our courage, honesty, and persistence that leave a lasting mark. Farrah Fawcett will always be remembered not just as a television star or a fashion icon, but as a woman who faced life boldly and inspired millions through her strength and authenticity. Farrah Fawcett's story also highlights the complex relationship between fame and the media. Throughout her career, she experienced both admiration and scrutiny, sometimes from the very same outlets that celebrated her. The Tonight Show incident, in particular, became a defining moment that the media often referenced, even though it represented just a single night in a long and accomplished career. Farrah's response to this scrutiny showed remarkable emotional intelligence. Rather than lashing out or retreating entirely from the public eye, she approached the situation with humility and resilience. She accepted that mistakes happen, especially under pressure, and that the world is often quick to judge without understanding the full context. By maintaining her composure and continuing to work diligently, Farrah turned what could have been a career-defining scandal into a minor footnote in her larger story of success and personal growth. Her approach to handling media pressure also reflected her deep understanding of human nature. Farrah knew that people are drawn to authenticity, and she refused to compromise her honesty for the sake of image. Whether discussing her professional decisions or health challenges or her personal relationships, she remained open and sincere. This transparency was not just a strategy, it was a reflection of her character. Fans and colleagues alike respected her for this quality. They recognized that her vulnerability was a strength, not a weakness, and that her willingness to share her experiences created a genuine connection that few celebrities achieve. Farrah's courage in this regard set her apart in an industry that often prioritizes appearance over substance. Another important aspect of Farrah's life was her dedication to her craft. While she gained initial fame through modeling and television, she continually sought to expand her skills and take on more challenging roles. She moved from light-hearted TV projects to dramatic film and theater work, demonstrating her versatility and commitment to growth. Farrah's determination to push herself creatively was evident in her performances, and critics eventually acknowledged her talent beyond her physical appearance. By consistently challenging herself, she redefined what it meant to be a Hollywood star. Her work proved that an actor's worth is measured not only by popularity, but also by skill, perseverance, and the ability to convey genuine emotion on screen. That Farrah's personal life also added layers to her legacy. She faced significant challenges, including the loss of loved ones, difficult relationships, and her own health struggles. Yet, throughout these hardships, she demonstrated resilience, compassion, and courage. Her openness about these experiences allowed others to learn from her journey. Farrah's story became a reminder that human beings are complex, capable of immense strength even when faced with adversity. She showed that challenges, no matter how difficult, can be met with grace and determination, and that sharing these experiences can inspire and comfort others facing similar struggles. Her life became more than a tale of celebrity. It became a lesson in perseverance,